if you told USC Trojans fans way back when Lincoln Riley first arrived from Oklahoma, when he first showed up here and the palm trees are here and the blue sky's there.
Palm trees and Dom Peas.
And we were all like, wow, okay, so he's left Oklahoma and he's coming here to USC. And wait a minute, Caleb Williams is coming with him, huh?
Yeah, buddy.
And if you had told every single USC fan that they would be one Pac-12 championship game victory over Utah away from making the college football playoffs, they'll be like, where is that piece of paper? Let me sign it.
Winning in, that's all you want.
That's it. A 1-point loss to Utah early on in the campaign has led to, remarkably, a repeat and a rematch where Utah wins, and I guess it's the best option for the Rose Bowl to have Utah back, I would imagine, right? We'll see what happens. The bowl season's kind of wacky. Figure this thing out. And if Utah wins, then the fan base that had a Chernobyl-like meltdown and wanted Ryan Day out, because how dare he lose back-to-back games to the University of Michigan by giving up 40 points in each. How dare he do that? That the fan base that lit him up and was chanting for Urban Meyer to come back will do a complete 180 and say, look out for us. You all thought we were dead and buried, but look out for us. They are ready for it. Every last Buckeye fan is ready to just make that pivot as if their fans chanting for Urban Meyer to come back never existed. It never happened. And Utah can make that happen tonight, because if USC loses, everyone assumes it'll be the Ohio State getting in. Now, I will just ask this question, Chris, TJ, everyone else out there who wants to call us at 844-204-RICH, number to dial. I am. This is what's called a call to action. I want to know, because if Utah wins tonight, the debate will be, why should a team in USC that made its conference championship game and thus had to play another game, and in trying to win its conference championship, lost, and a team that's sitting at home because they were not having to play in their conference championship game because they lost at home to their bitter rival. Why should a team that made its conference championship and thus had to play another game is now out because they lost that other game, and a team that didn't have to play at all and put anything on the line except maybe their couch cushion in a proper place, they now get in? Chris, I give you that floor on that. Because that's roosting tonight
sure,
if Utah wins.
Unfortunately, it's just the flaw in the system and the way it's kind of set up with conference championship games right now. There's no other way around it. It is a second loss. I think in this unique case with USC and Utah, it would be USC's second loss to the same team.
Correct.
So that makes them look like, hey, okay, you got a second shot at him. You couldn't beat him. You're just not as good as them. Ohio State, only the one loss. It was a close game for most of it. You know, maybe the last third it wasn't. But a lot of pro prospects, Heisman Trophy candidate for a majority of the season, a little bit more deserving.
I'm just talking about yes, and I understand what you just gave me there. The general concept, though.
Yeah, but
the USC,
there's a built-in flaw in the concept. That's the problem.
I agree with you on that. It's always been this way with college football.
Alabama got in the same way, remember, a few years ago?
Right. So. Don't lose late.
Don't lose late.
Yep. Don't be the last one to lose. Yeah. If you want to lose early.
Lose early. Get it over.
But that's so dumb.
Lose early. Yeah, it is dumb. And it's going to be rectified now.
Football teams progress. Cincinnati Bengals, perfect example.
Yep.
They progress and become better.
But also,
as the season goes along.
Should it make a difference? Okay, Ohio State lost to you guys, right? That's a top team that they lost to.
No
and even
question.
though it was that one loss, it was late in the season. So it's not like they lost to an unranked team. Like they lost to Michigan.
Yeah, true. They didn't lose to Iowa or just like Minnesota, whoever. They lost to the number 2 team in the nation, so that counts too.
In a game that was, like you said, fairly competitive to a point.
Yeah, up until the end. But yeah.
So, but Chris, you kind of took the words out of my mouth. USC loses to Utah twice, and it's kind of like, all right, well,
you had your shot to make up for it, and you didn't.
22-point loss at home. I just want to make sure that if this does happen, and I know this is going to upset you, Chris, but I mean, it is what it is. Just don't lose that intensity if the reverse happens. If Michigan lost by 22 at home to Ohio State, a 2 losing to a 3, we would have dropped like a stone. I'm telling you, there is a bias towards Ohio State. It exists, and we're seeing it.
When was the last time your quarterback was a Heisman Trophy candidate? The favorite all year up until the last 2 weeks.
No, I know that. I got you. We had a running back who was a Heisman Trophy favorite until he took an Illinois helmet to his knee.
Okay, well, quarterback different than running back, obviously.
That's the difference? Because Caleb Williams is the front runner for the Heisman.
He's going to win.
Right, so shouldn't that put USC in regardless of what happens tonight?
No, I mean, the 2 lost to the same opponent. I mean, that's kind of puts you out.
So I'm just front loading what can happen. If Utah wins tonight, which it most certainly can.
Could.
Yeah, no doubt. Let me just ask you this. Are you going to be disappointed, upset if Ohio State gets into this?
It is what it is. I mean,
you're in, so.
No, it is what it is. I will say this. I don't want to see them again.
For fear of?
Not for fear of anything. It's just beating an opponent for a set. That Utah must be like, we got to beat them again.
Yeah, we all know that's tough.
But that's
how the same opponent
that's
twice
how the
is never.
conference championship works. They're in different divisions and they face each other.
Just take a look at the.
If Oregon hadn't have blown
Chris,
it, Utah wouldn't be in this position.
You see these things. You pay attention more than I do. I just see them cross my timeline because it gets retweeted into it. But I saw Michigan's matchup with all the potential teams that they would have to face in the college football playoff. And they're underdogs to Georgia, and they are favorites against USC and TCU.
Favorites is USC too, huh?
And they're pick'em against Ohio State. So why would I want to have a team that we're so-called pick'em against? I mean,
well, pick 'em. That's good for you. You got up to 9-point dogs.
I got it
last week.
I understand that. It's just so tough. It is what it is. If we face them again, I mean, that would be similar to. It would be, I think, even bigger than UNC versus Duke facing each other in the Final Four.
Reggie,
that would be through the roof. I mean, and I bet the College Football Playoff Committee would love for that to be a matchup in the national championship game.
Here's how.
Do you imagine the national championships on the line between these two teams?
Here's how.
Not just bragging rights.
Here's how I'm seeing it. Here's how it's setting up for me. I think, all due respect to TCU, they should be on upset alert. Okay, Kansas State wins. TCU's out. Ohio State.
I don't think TCU's out if TCU loses.
Oh, I do because of this. Because you're setting up a situation where it becomes Georgia, Ohio State, and then an old school Rose Bowl matchup. USC, Michigan in the other semifinal. You don't think they'd sign up for that?
Of course they would sign up for it. But
then you got a potential Michigan-Ohio State championship.
Let's button up this conversation with the same question that I ask you. Because you're like, well, USC loses for a second time. 2 is larger than the number 1. It's a simple math equation.
Simple math.
Right? Where a team that has 1 loss gets in over a team that has 2 losses. TCU would have the same number of losses as Ohio State. I would proffer to say it would be worse. It would be more of an affront if Ohio State makes it and TCU doesn't, because TCU had to play in a conference championship game and Ohio State didn't. They'd have the same number of losses. 1 loses in its conference championship. You could say Ohio State lost in its de facto conference championship, but it's really just for the right to win the Big Ten East.
And that's totally fine. And that would be true if the precedent wasn't already set
from Alabama.
So because that already existed in a situation where the team had 1 loss, didn't play in their conference championship game and still got in and leapfrogged. So that's out the window now.
So you think that should happen? TCU loses to Kansas State.
See ya.
I don't know about that, brother. If Michigan, Ohio State was close, I would sit here and say that.
Remember,
it
Rich,
wasn't even close,
remember,
Chris.
Just remember.
At the end, it was not close.
Just remember, at the end of the day,
yes,
these are television programs. Ratings matter. If Ohio State is in there, the number is way bigger than if it's TCU, Georgia. Just remember that.
I would just feel for the kids in the TCU locker room, I'll tell you that. And I know I said that the loser of Michigan, Ohio State should make it regardless, but I said that if it was a close game, and it wasn't.
It was not.
Boy, that's all on the line tonight and tomorrow. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.